Sleeping with my girlfriend's. Now there's a note here that says Joss needs to censor this part. I'm really concerned. This real life drama should be on Netflix. And kudos to you because it's your stories. The first one is from Brandy M. Let me tell you about my date with the Cookie Monster. What the hell does that mean? This was about 8 years ago. I, Brandy, 44 at the time, was on an adult dating site with full knowledge that almost all on this site were looking for someone to have fun with, whether it be looking for one person or group. That's just what this site is about. All right. My rule of thumb was we had to at least meet for drinks in a public place, and I always made sure one of my friends was there to be able to give a description of the person in case something went wrong. PSA, great idea. I have been chatting with a gentleman, Stan, 60, male, from the northern part of my state. He was a cattle rancher. We had been chatting for a couple weeks. We exchanged pictures and we talked on the phone a bit. The pics he sent were of a fairly good-looking, handsome man for his age, and his voice, nothing appeared out of the ordinary. So he tells me he will be in my city for some agricultural organization. He was on the board of directors, and they were having a big banquet, and that he would like a date for it. He asked if I would go. Sure, a fancy dinner event where I get to dress up for? Hell yeah, I will go, LOL. So we made a plan to meet the night before said event. Well, something came up and he wouldn't make it that late, but he said that he would be there for the next day, mid-morning, and we could meet for coffee first. Because I'm still sticking to my plan of having a witness, as he fully knows my rules. Well, it kept getting later and later in the day, and he is on the road coming. Now, it's about a 7-hour drive from where he is to me. Because of whatever happened the day before, he wasn't going to get here until a couple hours before the dinner. He was going to check into his motel and shower and get ready for this dinner. So we agreed to meet at a bar downtown, just a couple blocks from the hotel where the dinner was. We decided to meet at 5:30 to have a drink and chat a little bit beforehand, so I'm sitting there dressed to impress. I wasn't in a formal black tie type of dress, but elegant enough to make a good impression, since this guy said he was on the board of directors and this was some type of awards dinner. My friend was meeting her boyfriend at this bar so they could go out together, so it was going to work out perfectly. We had to be at our event at 6, and my friend Tina, 44, and her boyfriend had dinner reservations at 7, giving them time to do our thing, and then we could just all go to our dinners. Perfect plan. Honestly, I love this plan. We are waiting. He texts and says he's running a little late and be there in 30. Then he texts and says he couldn't find a place to park near the bar, so he was having to park in the parking garage and is on his way. Let me tell you, when this man walked in, the three of us were completely dumbfounded. Like no words could be spoken. He looked like a really old, weathered, skinned, bleach blonde hair, kind of like a Barbie's Ken, that actually showed his age if dolls could, but still tan and wrinkly, wearing dirty jeans with dried mud on the bottom. He had an old shirt that was so worn that you could see through it. Right here should have made me leave, but we are in Montana, and this is a cattle ranch agricultural group, but at least mostly all the ranchers would have like new jeans and shirts to wear, especially if you are on the board of directors. Yeah, also like the theme of the event. Well, not him, apparently. He looked nothing like his pictures. I'm thinking the ones he sent me were at least 15 years old. And this should have been when I said thanks, but no thanks. But of course I didn't. I looked hot and would look better with him. So we chatted for a few, and since it's now almost 7 and we're late for the event, we all went to our separate dinners. On the way to the hotel, he tells me I'm a hot heifer. Yes, you read that right. A hot heifer. He called me a hot female cow. I said, "Excuse me? What did you say?" He repeated it. I stopped and I looked at him and I said, "Is that supposed to be a compliment?" He says, "Well, of course, I'm a cattle rancher, and for me to call you a hot heifer is the best compliment that I could give you. I looked at him and said, I don't care what you are calling me or any woman for that matter. A heifer is by far not a compliment in any way, shape, or form. Don't ever tell any woman that again. And this explains why, when we got to know one another, he had said that after he had met several women for drinks, they would leave and the date wouldn't go any further. Yeah, because he's sitting there calling them heifers. Oh yes, this explains so much. Then as we are in the elevator, he tells me that he doesn't have tickets to the actual dinner and we're just going to the cocktail hour. Excuse me. I thought you were on the board. He says he wants to be, but he isn't. Just then, the doors opened, just as I was about to lose my shite on him. I was so embarrassed and nervous that we were gonna get kicked out of there or something. I asked, what exactly were we doing here then? And he said, well, the hands are invited to the cocktail hour. Again, I said, what? I thought you owned the ranch. Not the ranch hand. He said he used to own a ranch, but because of the organization, he lost his ranch. I began to panic, but at the same time, trying to look calm and not freak the hell out. You can only imagine what thoughts and scenarios were playing through my head. I finally was able to calm myself and know that I could talk with a steady voice, not to let on that I'm freaked out. I asked him, why are we here? He says he just wants them to all see him and that he isn't going away. I'm so confused at this point. I just looked at him and said, are you gonna do something erratic and stupidly dangerous? He says no. As everyone is starting to make their way to the dining room, we walk over to the bar. I ordered 2 shots of Fireball and a White Claw. He says, oh thanks, I don't really like Fireball. I said, oh buddy, these are mine and mine alone. I did both shots and said, go ahead, order what you want when you pay. Cause buddy, you owe me at least that. I'm gonna wait over here for you to do whatever it is you're going to do. He comes back and says we can go. He's done. I'm confused. He wasn't gone for more than 2 minutes. He said he just walked by the board's table so they would see him and that he is still here. Still not sure what he is talking about, but whatever. We get into the elevator and he becomes all hands on. We kiss a little, well, quite a lot. It starts getting pretty hot. As we reach the lobby, he says, are you ready to go to my motel now? I said, absolutely not. You owe me dinner, and that's what we are doing. He asked me where we could go that's not super expensive, so we went to one of the casinos that had good food and decent prices. I could have just ended this at that point, but hey, I'm a woman who hasn't had any fun in a long time. So we go back to this motel, and I mean motel, one of the cheapest rundown motels in the town. I need to get laid. Now there's a note here that says Joss needs to censor this part. I'm really concerned. So things go as they go, I'm assuming, and he starts getting really loud. I don't mean moaning or slurping noise. When I say he is loud, I mean he is sounding like the Cookie Monster. Nom 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 nom. I'm gonna cry. That's what it says. I'm reading what it says. Now I understand the reference. Oh, I'm gonna cry. Of Cookie Monster. My God, I'm so disturbed. Very loud. I swear the rooms on both sides and below us could have heard him. I grab my phone and I call my friend to tell her she needs to call me with an emergency. I've got to get out of here. He was so loud that he didn't even hear me make the call. So she calls and we talk about the emergency. I tell him she needs to come pick me up, and once we take care of it, I will come back to the Cookie Monster. I didn't go back. Brandy, I don't know what I did to owe the pleasure of hearing this story and sharing it with the rest of my followers. Oh my God. I mean, I got images I don't think I needed, but whew, the num 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 really got to me. Seeing it written out is one thing, but having to read it is another. My eyes are watering. I don't want my mascara to run. On that note, let's hop on Hydration Station because whew, that was funny. For me, not for you, I'm sure. Cheers. I think we're getting too close, you guys. I think we're becoming too close to friends on here. Next up, we got Reggie M. I got revenge on my abusive ex-girlfriend in the way that she deserved. As a man, I feel it's important to share this experience to show others that men get abused by women too, and we need more awareness and support. I'll provide some context before we get into it. This occurred in 2007 when I, 42 male, was 25 at the time, dating my then girlfriend Tina, 27 female. We had been in a relationship for 4 years up until that point, and it grew toxic as time went on. But we weren't like this beforehand. Tina and I met through mutual friends at a bar, and we immediately hit it off and eventually started dating shortly thereafter. Everything was going as any ordinary relationship could. Until it wasn't. The main reason Tina became a completely different person when she had a miscarriage with our baby. I'm sorry to hear that. The pregnancy was unexpected because we used protection and we weren't financially stable to raise a child, but we were committed to making it work, so the miscarriage definitely had an impact on our relationship. Understandably so. Tina became a completely different person from that, and that is when our relationship began to fall apart. Tina became very irritable and would lash out at me over the littlest things you could think of. In my mind, I figured she was still dealing with the effects of the miscarriage. So I cut her some slack and I tried to be as caring and loving as I could, but to no avail. Eventually, things took a turn when Tina became manipulative and abusive. She started showing up at my job where I worked as a bartender, where she would just sit and stare at me for hours because she wanted to keep an eye on me. I told her this was unnecessary and asked her to go home, but she refused. That led to her berating me about my job, my looks, and my outlook on life, which I took offense to. I would always ask if she was struggling and that if she wanted to talk about it, we could, but she always shut me down. The breaking point was when we got into an argument and how the miscarriage had ruined our relationship. I was trying to comfort and explain to her that we couldn't have done anything to prevent that sort of thing, but she smacked me on the head and yelled, "It's your fault for knocking me up." Hearing those words was the last straw for me. First of all, we use protection. Sometimes rubbers don't always work, and in this case, it was one of those times. Secondly, to have the audacity to blame a miscarriage on me when I had nothing to do with it is beyond insane. And also, hitting me is a drop-dead deal breaker. I know most people would try to move past this, but not me. I have standards and I wouldn't tolerate it. You clearly have some deep psychological problems that you need to deal with because I can't handle this anymore. I started packing my stuff after I told Tina that we were over. This enraged Tina as she started hitting me and calling me weak for walking out on her. She was clearly trying to gaslight me, but I was too smart for that, so I just ignored it. Once that was done, I stood at the door, looked Tina in the eyes, and I said, "I'm glad that miscarriage happened because it saved our baby from being poisoned by the devil." I then got in my truck and I drove away. I felt relief from saying all of that because I had held back for so long. In my rearview mirror, I noticed I had scratch marks on my face from where Tina attacked me. This gave me the idea to get revenge on Tina. She needed to be taught a lesson about how her actions have consequences and that women do not get to assault men and get away with it. I drove straight down to the police station where I filed an assault and battery report on Tina. I showed them the scratches as well as some nasty text message that Tina had sent to me. FYI, my uncle is a sheriff, so I was able to get in contact with him and he came to my aid when I needed it most. Long story short, Tina got arrested and is currently serving time in jail for assault and battery. Also, thanks to some help from my uncle and his connections in the local government, I sued Tina for damages for the medical attention and emotional distress she caused, and I wound up winning $10,000. I got money and a new reputation, and Tina got a jumpsuit and handcuffs. That was way more intense than I anticipated, to be honest. I did not expect all of that, especially that ending. Well, we got another name. You guys are all just dropping your name with no shame. Tim. I wound up sleeping with my girlfriend's mom. Tim. All right. I'm gonna let you share your story with an open mind. I know you must have lots of questions, so I'll get right into it. This took place in 2022 while I, 30 male, was going through a nasty breakup with my then girlfriend Elizabeth, 32 female. We had been together for 2 years and our relationship grew strained when I found out she was cheating on me with my best friend Mitch, 28 male. Oh no, this is messy already. I'll give some context to help set the scene. Elizabeth and I met at a bar over a game of pool where she impressed me with her skills and we really hit it off. We grew close together and I'd always spend the holidays with her family because they were very loving and supportive of our relationship. That was until this happened. Mitch and I had been best friends since kindergarten and he was my ride or die. We had been through so many ups and downs, but we stuck together for so long. On this particular day, I was out of town visiting my parents in Florida. FYI, Elizabeth and I were living in Tallahassee at the time, and my parents were living in Orlando, about a 4-hour drive away. Me and my parents were out having dinner at this beachside bar when I got a call from Mitch. When I answered, he sounded all freaked out, and I couldn't understand what he was saying. After some deep breaths, he said, "Elizabeth just kissed me and tried to seduce me." I stood there shocked and confused for a minute because the Elizabeth I knew would never do such a thing. But then Mitch shared descriptive details and sent me a screenshot of some text messages she had sent him, which included a picture of her wearing lingerie and the message reading, "Tim will never know. Be mine." At that moment, my anger and rage exploded and I threw my phone into the sand and I screamed like a maniac. Honestly, understandable. After taking some time to cool down, I informed my parents what Mitch told me and that I needed to leave and go home and deal with the situation. While I was driving home, I called Elizabeth's mother, Jenny, and told her what happened. She was shocked by the news and asked if she could meet me at our house to confront Elizabeth, and she agreed. For some context, Mary and I had a strong relationship, no pun intended. She always treated me like a son, and always envisioned me and Elizabeth getting married. It definitely touched a nerve. 4 hours later, I made it home where I walked in and found Elizabeth and Jenny waiting in the living room. Without any hesitation, I pulled up the screenshots and shoved the picture of Elizabeth's text into her face and demanded answers. "You've been pushing me away and Mitch has just been satisfying my needs." That really made me angry, and Jenny walked over to Elizabeth and smacked her upside the head and told her to apologize to me. She refused. At that point, it became clear that the woman I loved was no more. I looked at Jenny and Elizabeth and told them it was over. I couldn't be with someone who could betray me like that, and to try to cheat on me with my best friend out of all people is way worse. To my surprise, Jenny supported my decision wholeheartedly and helped me pack my things. She was such a wonderful person to me. Meanwhile, Elizabeth was trying to play the victim card, but to no avail. I just mimicked the violin playing as she talked while I packed my bags and I left. Right as I was walking out the door, I turned around and said, "Bye, Felicia." I have a question though. Do you think there's more to it? Because she's saying that Mitch has been satisfying her needs. So like, is Mitch innocent in all of this? That's what I want to know. After all of that, I had to say goodbye to Jenny. It was very hard because after everything we'd been through together, we weren't going to be in each other's lives anymore. That's when the idea struck me. I had already broken up with Elizabeth, so technically, I was single. When Jenny asked if there was anything she could do to convince me to stay around, I blurted out, "Elizabeth cheated on me with my best friend. How about if you and I hooked up just for once?" Listen, I've been cheated on, and at no point was I like, "Hey, Dad." Like, she was the mother figure. Surprisingly, Jenny was on board. Long story short, I drove over to Jenny's house and we indeed do it. I have no regrets whatsoever. I don't play to get even, I play to win. Also, oh my God. Also, I sent a text to Elizabeth saying, I slept with your mom, and then I blocked her. It ain't cheating if we weren't together anymore. I'm surprised Jenny went through with it, but I don't regret doing it because she was amazing. I got revenge on my girlfriend in the best way possible, and now she will live with that forever. I guarantee she will never cheat again after that. Okay, but also, how does Jenny do that to her daughter? There's a lot here. Thank you for sharing your story, but I got a lot of questions and concerns with this. We have another name, Slaya. I hope that's how you say it, because how fun is that? My name is Slaya. Like, are you just always slaying, as the kids say? I don't think I've had this many names dropped in a video. When I finally faced my best friend was a narcissist. First thing I want to say, I always look forward to your videos and I cheers you on almost every time. That makes me so happy. I was friends with this girl, let's call her Becky, since we were 10. I moved from a small town to a big city to a small school. 20 girls in the class/grade. Before I moved, we were checking out the neighborhood. I met Becky, so I sort of clung to her at the beginning. We also lived near each other, and Becky would ask me to walk to her house before going to school, even though it was about 2 blocks out of my way and we lived in the Midwest with hard winters. Not fun. As we got older, we had other friends, but she always made me feel almost like I owed her because she was my friend when I first moved. When we were in high school, we kind of went our own ways, but still hung out and even spent some of the summer on a trip in Tahoe. When I got engaged, she stopped speaking to me, but we have a 3-month engagement. No, I wasn't pregnant. I was just so busy that I didn't really care. What? Is a 3-month engagement a long time? That seems short, no? We set our wedding date and location based on what was best for us, which happened to be a Wednesday night in Brooklyn, New York. Becky was working in the Midwest, and I totally understood that she probably wasn't going to be able to go to our wedding, but in Jewish tradition, there is a week of celebrating and blessing the bride and groom after the wedding, which was going to be in the Midwest where I grew up and Becky was. So I made sure to invite her to all of those parties. There were 4 parties that Becky's parents attended that she wasn't up to joining. I just shrugged and said I have good friends, and that came from the other side of the world, and a new sister-in-law who came even though she was only a few weeks postpartum. 7 years later, we met up and Becky wanted to rekindle our friendship, but I wasn't going to have that unless she apologized for not even making the effort to hop in the car with her parents to celebrate me. This person had the audacity to tell me since I didn't fly 16 hours, miss work, and leave 3 young children at home for her wedding, that we were even. That was the last time I wanted to have anything to do with her. My life is so much happier and free because of it. It's hard losing friends, very hard. But sometimes it's necessary. And once you heal from the initial pain, you're free and it feels so much better. Oh, we broke the trend going. We do have an anonymous one. My mom is cuckoo bonkers. I don't know what else to call it. Strap in. Once I started puberty, she started judging. Women from both sides of my family are top heavy. So I went from B cups to double D over one summer. Apparently, ridicule from the high school boys wasn't enough. My mom took it upon herself to let me know that women with large chests offend other women when we wear tank tops. What? So at 14 years old, I was no longer allowed to buy tank tops. I had to get clothes tried on and approved by her before buying. My friends told me this is ridiculous and the only woman offended by my body is her. She always knew how to keep my self-esteem low though. Comments on my weight and acne were the go-tos for her. By the age of 16, she had her mindset that I needed a breast reduction because of back pain. I went to a small school with no lockers and I split time between my mom and my dad's houses. I had to lug all of my school books around all day, every day. Could have caused the back pain, but she's an RN, so she knows best. I kept brushing off her comments on reduction for over a year. At 17 though, I got very self-conscious and I finally gave in. I was also tired of the nagging and the gaslighting. She had one done after she had kids and really pushed for me to do it while I was still under her insurance. We live in an island with one old man, a plastic surgeon. Even he was hesitant because at my age, he said it was very likely to need to redo it as an adult. I asked if I would be able to breastfeed and he said he would try his best. I wasn't happy after this happened the summer before senior year. Oh my God, what a crazy surgery to experience at that age. That'd be horrible. Now the boys were saying, oh my God, what did you do? The surgery wasn't perfect either. Not sure if the details will be allowed, but part of the areola is still in the original place that my nipple used to be. Fast forward 8 years, my husband and I welcome our son into the world. I plan to breastfeed, no bottles or milk were bought. Big mistake. My mom was with us after the hospital. Baby was always hungry, so I questioned my supply. My mom kept saying, your milk dropped by now, whatever that means. He's just colicky. At his first appointment, he went from 7 pound 13 ounces birth weight to 6 pound 4 ounces at 5 days old. Turns out, according to my midwife, she's never seen a woman successfully breastfeed after a reduction. Would have been nice to know before giving birth. After that, I really regretted this frickin' breast reduction. She used to try to watch my son. The last time we left him with her, we had to come back before the movie we went to watch had even begun. According to her, they were watching cartoons, and my 2-year-old grabbed her glass of water instead of his. She responded by saying, no, that's my water, yours is here. He's not used to being yelled at, so he started crying and he was inconsolable. Like, just get yourself a new glass. He's 2 and you just have to keep him happy for 2 hours. My goodness. My cup size is larger than it was pre-surgery from having the baby. She still body shames me and we are very low contact. I went to therapy and I saw that I was raised by a narcissist. Can't imagine. Cannot imagine a mother talking to their child. Like, don't you want your daughter to feel like the most beautiful and perfect woman and mother in the whole world? Like, wouldn't you want that? Why would you shame her at all in any regard? And if the breast reduction came from a place of like, I'm worried for back pain, for this, she's so young. I feel like you haven't even grown into your body at 16 and 17. I mean, I'm still waiting for mine to come in, but here we are. Let me know your thoughts on this, you guys. I'll see you in the comment section. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy. I'll see you tomorrow.